Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Wealth Through Health podcast, where we believe health is wealth and wealth is health. Zac Deane here with special guest Mark Curry. Thanks for joining us today, Mark.
Oh, Zac, pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited for this. We were introduced through a mutual friend. There's a whole bit of a backstory there. We'll go through that shortly. But for those who don't know Mark, he is a nutritionist, passionate about improving people's lives through the Savvy Beverage. Cheers. Mark is a University of Technology Sydney mentor, vice chair for mental health organisation, lawyer of the Supreme Court of New South Wales, university medalist, academic tutor, vice chair for mental health organisation, as well as an entrepreneur with a keen interest in better living through science. So today we're going to talk about all things nootropics, biohacking, health, and also with a twist of really anyone out there who might be starting their own business, or maybe you're an entrepreneur already going through some struggles with your own health, or maybe your health's pretty good, but you want to take it to the next level and really optimize your environment and routines. So you're maximizing your time on this planet. We're going to dive into that today. So Mark, let's jump in. How did you start this awesome journey? And amazing bio there, by the way.
The bio, I was like, wow, that's really quite nice. It's kind of like hilarious when you just you do. You don't really like stop and think, and then occasionally you write some words together and you hear them said to you, and you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like, brilliant. But in terms of how it kind of begun was I used to work quite heavily in the legal space. I was also quite involved in universities, and so for me, life was pursuing academia through that respect. However, I always had a desire to try and help people, which as a lawyer, it's challenging to do. There are particular areas of law where you get the opportunity to. However, more often than not, you find law is not a win-win, but more of a win-lose, which means for one person to win, another must lose, which is not a great system. I loved alternative dispute resolution, trying to find creative solutions to problems where both people walk away feeling they've got the best possible situation, hence win-win. Unfortunately, most of the time that's not the case. So my little avenue of wanting to help people was ending up kind of moving toward nutrition. I was the guy in the law firm that was a bit of a nutrition geek. I spent the night studying nutrition, the law, so the daytime doing the law thing. And I actually prepared all these pills, powders, and potions. My entire office was lined with all of these different supplements, and people used to come in and be like, what is this? And it was my favorite conversation. I'd light up and start telling them, and they'd be like, oh, okay, whoa, like that's a bit much. I'd end up kind of bombarding them with information about nootropics and adaptogens and why you should have this and what time is best and how much you need. But it was something I was passionate about because it was a means of helping people. No one was talking about nootropics at the time. This is back in 2015 and 16. So the idea of being on kind of the cutting edge of something that was huge in Silicon Valley and bringing some of that just down to Sydney was a really cool thing. And I actually spent the weekend, one weekend in particular, getting all these supplements in and measuring them all out. And I put a 4-kilo Tupperware tub. And it effectively is the base of what is in all of the line of products that we have here at Savvy today. And people used to come into my office and I'd have just a large tablespoon. And so they'd be like, can I have one of your brain drinks? I'm like, okay. And so they'd come in with a glass at the ready. And then I'd just give them a scoop and then I'd send them out to the fridge to put some cordial on top, just because these amazing herbs, vitamins, amino acids, they're great for you, but they taste horrible. So like, put some cordial on top, have some water, and then what did you think? And then people would always come back invariably be like, dude, this is so much better than tea. It's so much better than coffee, so much better than energy drinks. Like I just had a really good productive day. I felt good. I was in the zone. I felt like I was producing some of my best work. What the hell, what's in here? And then I'd get all excited and start talking really fast again. And they'd be like, whoa, just, it works, be happy. I'm like, all right, cool. And so that was my life for probably 6 to 9 months before I listened to people who kept saying, you have to do this, you have to do this. Like, you're not a lawyer, you're a chemist, like, get out of here, you're a nutritionist, get out of here. And then I didn't believe in myself. I doubted myself. The idea of actually running my own business and being an entrepreneur was scary. I didn't think I had the skill set. I'm like, no, I'm a worker bee. I can't start from the top and do all the things. Like, I'm good with instruction. I'll do the work. And then I went to a lot of seminars talking about prospering from your passion and ways to actually try and run your own company and how to do it. And I thought, if I never do it now, I'll never do it. So I tendered my resignation, and I still remember day one at my laptop, typing in, almost with kind of jittery fingers, scared, how to start a nutrition company in Australia. And that was in 2016. And the journey started.
Wow. There's so many similarities here. Like, yeah, the amount of people that come over and I'm like, here, try this supplement, try this thing, try this herb. Like, I totally relate with you on that one. And did you leave your job and then start doing some research? Or did you do a bit of research before handing in your resignation?
I'd done a bit of research, but to be honest, the only research that I'd done was just to prove that what I was taking, what I was doing was actually doing the thing that it was meant to be doing. So for me, I loved knowing that if I have X amount of this ingredient and Y amount of this ingredient, they're going to work well together, therefore have synergy. And that's going to create this effect in my brain, or this effect, or it's going to allow me to get into this state more easily. So I had done a lot of the research about that. But aside from that, I hadn't delved deep into how to start the supplement company and do it. And the reason why I went cold turkey is because I thought, if I start researching how challenging this is going to be, I'm never going to do it. So I thought, there's one chance to do it, and it's got to be now. And I'm just going to go guns blazing at it. And if after 3 months or 6 months I realize, whoa, this was not the right move, that's fine. I just revert back to where I was, and I learned a whole lot.
That's huge. That's huge. You burnt the bridges and just went for it. And that's so true. I think if I knew the challenges, the confrontation, the person I had to become in order to be who I am today, I probably wouldn't have started. Like, obviously it's worth it, and who I've become, but in terms of the trials and tribulations along that journey, whoa, OMG. So a big issue in the world right now is mental health. We've got so many people identifying with different mental challenges, and we have many solutions like nootropics and herbs and lifestyle biohacking, bioharmonization, whatever term you want to use. How's mental health, the concept of mental health, impacted what you guys do? And is that one of the reasons that brought you to creating Savvy? Is that part of one of the benefits that this drink or this type of lifestyle promotes, which is healthy mindset or a healthy brain?
100%, Zach. So probably one of the largest things to us is mental well-being and mental health. I feel it's a heavily underrepresented area in Australia. A lot of people think of mental health as something that is a bit like, oh, am I ready for that conversation? Which I think is a huge shame, because I think the answer should always be, we should talk more about it. How do you feel, and why are you feeling these things, and what you can do to actually get more of the states that you want to be in and less of the states that you don't want to be in. And there's ways to get around it. Like, we know so much about how our physical bodies work in terms of the best type of training to achieve an outcome, but we don't know huge amounts about what we should do from a mental perspective to get in the correct mental health or mental fitness state we want to be in. And a lot of people as well, unfortunately, confuse mental health to be something that is mental ill health. Occasionally I'll ask people, oh, what's mental health to you? And they're like, oh, well, like depression and stress and anxiety. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but I disagree. I don't think that's mental health. That's like saying physical health is cancer and disease. And that's not correct. Those are the bad things that can happen. I think mental health or physical health is the pursuit of getting the most out of your body or the most out of your brain with mental health, and just feeling the way that you want to feel to be able to do the best work for yourself. And because of the way that we're all structured physically and mentally, like if you're unfortunately born at 5'2", you're gonna have a hard time breaking into the NBA if you're a male or female player. And that's going to be the same kind of thing with mental health. If you've been born where the way your neurotransmitters or the way your hormones form and work from the get-go, then you might be slightly different to some of the others. But the beautiful thing is, just like you can train your physical body to change, your mental health can change greatly as well. Just there's not as much circulation around what you can do types of practices, types of supplements. So that was integral to what we were doing at Savvy. We wanted to greatly talk about why mental health is important. We support 2 separate mental health charities. I'm the board of directors for another mental health charity. I think it's something in Australia that people need to be way more aware of. When you combine people who are walking around with issues of chronic stress, large amounts of diagnosed anxiety, and also depression, we're looking at almost 20% of the population, which means that each time you see 5 people in a room, there's a large chance one of them is currently going through some challenges, which is why I always try and advocate for people not to quickly dismiss or get angry when someone does something small, because you never know what that person's going through that's causing that behavior in the first place. So with Savvy, we really wanted to put things that help to naturally elevate mood and naturally reduce stress and naturally reduce anxiety as the forefront of the nootropics that we're going to use. Because in today's world, your concentration and ability to focus is your currency. Being able to focus and get more mental work done is what's going to set you further ahead than the average person in today's world. So if you can have a slightly elevated mood, less stress and less anxiety, your ability to focus and get good, proper work done in a short amount of time is greatly elevated, which is going to give you the biggest possible leg up in the world at the moment. But simultaneously, it will improve your mental health because you will have a better time living that moment in that day because you'll enjoy that moment a bit more. So that's a really long answer to your question, but long story short, yes, mental health and mental well-being was at the absolute forefront of Savvy's formulation.
That's awesome. They're so important right now, especially for young kids growing up today. There's so much confusion on just gender, let alone the economy, let alone health and wellness, like relationships. You know, the biggest, most important topics aren't taught to us in school. Well, they weren't for me. And so this is one of the reasons I wanted to do these interviews, is because these are some important topics, and simple little things can make the world of difference. And so one thing that's obviously helped me a lot, and I'm, just so you guys know at home, I don't drink coffee. I actually get anxiety when I drink coffee. I get shaky, brings up whatever it does for me. And I'm definitely not a fizzy drink or sugary drinker. But I do know that when I heard Mark talk about the benefits of the ingredients and the amount of certain ingredients in the Savvy, right, product placement, I was blown away by it. And it wasn't, and I felt it. I had my first Savvy and I felt the difference in my body. It was this clean clarity of mental focus, this awareness and an energy that went a lot longer than usual, and there was no crash. And the first one I had, I think it was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I shouldn't, and Johnny was like, "Don't have it." But I didn't get to sleep till like 12 o'clock because I'm quite sensitive to caffeine. So I started having it more in the morning. But I really see the ingredients as clean and the integrity behind it. And I know there's a lot of other drinks out there that pump so many. They have like a small amount of a good ingredient, but then it's not enough to even do anything, and they pump it full of caffeine. I'm like, this is so much crap out there. So what is a nootropic? What does it do to the body? And how do we get the most out of nootropics? Do we stack them? Does it have to be a certain formula? Let's start there for everyone.
So the nootropic, so firstly, as to what nootropics are. So everyone seems to pronounce it a bit differently. I hear people say neurotropic and nootropic or nootropic. I just say nootropic, same as what you're saying, as if it's like new, as in something that's not old, it's new, and tropic as in like a tropical location. So it was first used in 1972 by a Romanian neuroscientist, a guy called Corneliu. Pretty cool name. So basically, he thought and basically stumbled upon the design of ingredients that can be used to boost the brain and boost human intelligence, and he wanted this to be freely available. So he wanted to improve just general cognition, which is your ability to think and feel and get things done, memory, alertness, concentration, creativity, attention. So it was a very, very cool thing, because who the hell doesn't want to amplify their ability to think faster, think clearer, get more things done, process information quicker, remember more of the information. So that was where it all kind of begun. And the research prior to nootropics being what they are today came from the issues of neurodegenerative diseases. So people actually, unfortunately, getting often later in life, but sometimes midlife, where their brain starts to, unfortunately, depending upon what it is, it could be large amounts of plaque or it could be other issues. But long story short, their brain starts to not perform as well as it could. And then it starts to lead to issues with memory and disorientation, and lists of issues can go on. So there was medication that was brought to the fore, which was trying to counteract these issues of Alzheimer's and dementia and et cetera, et cetera. So that's a little bit about how nootropics begun, because some people then thought, hang on, could we use some of the ideas that we're considering for anti-neurodegenerative issues and apply them toward your average person to improve their memory? Like if this is meant to improve memory of people who are losing their memory, what if we give this to your average 18 or 20-year-old? Is that going to make them improve their memory while they're at university or college or TAFE or whatever they're doing? Like, is that going to make them a bit smarter? And then what about other areas? Like, can we start to upregulate focus? Can we start to upregulate the ability of your neurons and synapse to be able to fire a little bit faster? So there's faster connections. Can you increase attention? Can you increase the ability, fluidity of thought? What about verbal fluency? And so long story short, the answer to most of these questions is yes, you can. And that's what nutrition, that's what mental nutrition and nootropics has turned into. In 2020, it's a $8 billion US industry, expanding to like 15 or 16 billion by 2028. So it's a very large area. And there's all different types of brain boosting supplements out there. It can be something as simple as B vitamins, so B1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 12, or 7 and 9 if you want to include them as well. Omega-3 fatty acids, there's some that you may have heard of already. There's herbs such as ginseng and lion's mane, curcumin, which is the active form in turmeric, ginkgo biloba. The list can go on and on and on. So I'm not going to go through all of the different listing ones, but what I am going to go through is the most important thing to nootropics, which is the dose. You want to have the right amount. So there's a lot of companies out there at the moment in America, in the UK, in Australia, that will have a formulation and will go ahead and let people know we're using the 5 best nootropics on the market. And they might be, that could be absolutely true. And I'm sure if you chuck in Google 5 best nootropics, you'll probably see some of the ones that I just mentioned. And the issue is though, are they having enough? And this is where dose becomes the most important thing. And an easy way to think about dose is consider that you have a headache and you are going to use paracetamol or Panadol as the brand to get rid of the headache. So the common dose is 2 tablets. Each tablet is 500 milligrams, so you're getting 1 gram in total. And that's going to help alleviate the symptoms of the headache or fever or whatever you might be trying to get rid of. However, if I was to give you a quarter of 1 little tablet, so here goes, Zach, you got a headache, try this, that's not going to do anything. There's no science to show that will do anything. And you personally will have that and be like, Mark, that didn't help. I still have a headache. So therefore, you do need to have the accurate dose. And there's a reason why it says on the back, take 2 tablets. Like they didn't randomly decide on that one day. There's science behind it. The same is with nootropics. So there's huge amounts of data and huge amounts of studies that have been done that show you need this amount of the nootropic and this amount will equal this benefit. And that's just as simple as it gets. However, there are companies out there that will put a very small amount of ingredients and that won't do anything. And that's a bit of a challenge, or the way the ingredients are prepared. So if you're having a herb, that means it was grown in nature most of the time, which means there's a chance, like a lot of plants, that they were sprayed with herbicides, pesticides, fungicides, insecticides to make sure that birds didn't eat them or insects didn't eat them or whatever else it might be. And unless they're organic, that means that you're ingesting all of these things as well. And then the way they create an extract. So I've used the word herbal extract before. That means concentrated herb. So an extract might be 1 to 10 as a ratio, which means that 1 gram of the extract is equivalent to 10 grams of the actual plant. So which means it's concentrated over. It's easier to have 1 gram of something that equals 10 grams when you're trying to get a benefit out of it. The only issue is to create that extract, sometimes when they're trying to pull all of the good nutrients out, they do it using solvents, which is a complicated thing in of itself, that are just often quite low quality chemicals, which actually aren't very good. So unfortunately, a lot of people end up having things which they think are amazing, and they're spending all of their hard-earned cash going, this is going to be great. And either A, it doesn't do anything, or even worse, which is so ironic, it actually makes them less healthy. It actually harms them. This is the case with a lot of very cheap, low quality fish oils. Whenever someone says, oh, I have a big tub of fish oil, I got it for 20 bucks at Chemist Warehouse or Priceline, I'm always just like, throw it out. Like, that's going to do you more harm than good. And they're like, no, but I bought it to be healthy. You said fish oil is good. And then that's the issue, is they heard somewhere fish oil is good, and fish oil is good, but it has to be the correct fish oil. And what I mean by that is it needs to be one that isn't rancid, that's done correctly. Like, they didn't just squeeze a fish. Like, there's a way that the fish oil comes from whatever type of fatty fish it is into that tablet. There's a huge amount of manufacturing process before it gets to there. And if it's done in the correct way, you will get a high quality result. The only thing is that's going to cost a bit of money. So whenever it's really, really cheap, chances are they've done everything in the cheapest, lowest quality way, which unfortunately means not good news for you. But yeah, that was, again, a pretty long answer to the question, but that's kind of what nootropics are. They're a class of supplements that help to improve the way the brain to work more effectively. And yes, they can be quite expensive, but yes, they're extraordinarily effective and very cool. They've taken Silicon Valley by storm. A lot of high-level executives from all over the world prescribe by nootropics. The second smartest man in the world uses nootropics and swears by them as like the go-to thing for him, which is pretty damn cool. They can help with ADHD, but like, I guess the simplest way to view it is if Mr. Rosner, with a guy with an IQ of 192, swears by nootropics is the thing that helps to keep him mentally acute, why would we want to have them?
So, what? So he swears by them.
Loves them. I wrote a big blog article about it. I found it extraordinarily interesting. So he loves omega-3 fatty acids. He loves ashwagandha. He loves vitamin K, vitamin D. Big fan of caffeine. Because caffeine can be great when you pair it with other things. Caffeine by itself can be, it's a blunt instrument. But when you pair it with other nootropics, you can actually do two things. A, increase the upside of it so it actually does more positive, healthy things for you. And B, reduce the downsides of caffeine, such as the jitteriness, the anxiety, the heart palpitations, the unpleasantness. So it's a pretty cool little thing.
That's so interesting. So we've just got a few things to unpack. So you've obviously, we'll chat about the caffeine thing in a moment. And I know you've got a brand new, I guess, nootropic caffeine. Is that what we call it? It's like caffeine with nootropics in it, or amino acids. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, so we make coffee powder and coffee pods, and we've added a whole variety of nootropics to them. But the whole idea is, people love coffee in Australia. People love caffeine in Australia. People love coffee and caffeine around the world. Like coffee is like the most popular beverage. Like tea's number one, coffee's number two, right? So everyone loves it. However, coffee is good, but it's not great. So we thought, how can we make it great, or how can we make it amazing? And the trick is by adding nootropics around it that bring out the best thing for it. It's like taking someone who's like a good athlete and then surrounding them with like the best coaches and the best people for their performance. You're going to take them to a brand new level, and that's what we've done. But that's by the by. Like, you don't need to purchase particular products. I'll run you through some of the nootropics that you need to have that's going to make caffeine better. I can do that.
Nice, very cool. I love hearing this. This is great. It's so cool to see, you know, another young gun dude, man, stepping up here, living your passion, sharing what fulfills you, and adding value to the world with, you know, this amazing product that's helping people's health and mindset, and, you know, your whole story is just so amazing, Mark. I really appreciate you doing this. Thank you for doing what you're doing.
Very welcome.
And so we've got this mental health epidemic. We've got people disconnecting from themselves and looking for these short, quick fixes of whether it is food or porn or business or You know, and lots of young kids are even committing suicide these days. There's so much disconnection. When we disconnect from, I believe, when we disconnect from self, everything else in our body and physiology starts to break down. When I'm not putting, and to make this relevant for myself, it's like when I'm doing things that are high on my values, things that I'm passionate about, that fulfilling, it improves my cellular voltage, right? When I do things that are aligned to my purpose, my mitochondria are kicked on to give more and to regenerate quicker. When I'm doing things that are not aligned to my purpose or values, and it cause resentment, or I don't like doing them, for example, it will lower my self-esteem, it will lower my electrical voltage, my mitochondria will slow down as a result of, for example, things that I used to do was working a job that I didn't like, or for example, was hanging out with people that weren't aligned to my vision, and I was having to hide behind, you know, certain identities to just fit in. I wasn't being aligned to my true self. And so I see the world where so many people are so afraid to be themselves because of this like pack mentality. And then if we disconnect from self, our body's going to start to break down. In my family, there's mental health issues, there's addiction, there's suicide. The list just goes on and on and on. And I see that in today's day and age, I start meeting people, young entrepreneurs, who are doing what they love, loving what they doing, and then they're adding value to the world, and they're flying with high colors. And I see people who are working a job they don't like, not looking after their body or their mind, not following their passion, or, you know, feeling like they have to put on masks to be around friends and family. I'm off on a bit of a rant here, but in doing that, you know, that's the majority of the population, is that they're betraying self, and as a result, the brain starts to break down. Of course, it's not going to give the energy. The heart, the digestive system, we put on weight, you know, that energy, everything gets fatigued. So doing what we love and loving what we do is the greatest gift I can do to the world, my health and my family and the world. And the same thing with you, and you've been able to bottle that up, literally bottle it up. So it's just really, really cool to see. So I guess the question in that is, in terms of nootropics, the ingredients, the dosage, and then I know that you're a massive fan of biohacking. So what are some of the biohacking routines that you do? Maybe where did you start before knowing about biohacking? Where were you before? And then what do you do today? What are some of the best biohacks or brand new biohacks? We're talking about biology hacking. We're looking at, you know, what are little things that help expand our potential in a shorter period of time.
So with biohacking, is one of the coolest things to get into is biohacking. For those who know about it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. For those who haven't looked at it, worth Googling the term, worth trying to figure out what are some easy go-to biohacks. We'll now go ahead and like get into a few now. So I got really into biohacking in 2015, 2016. So around the time that I was considering Savvy, and I was really into nootropics and really into health. What caused that shift in behavior to suddenly pick up nootropics and suddenly pick up biohacking was the fact that I couldn't keep up with the work demands that was placed upon me when I was working as a lawyer. I found it extraordinarily hard, large days where you're expected to work 10 hours, 12 hours, sometimes longer, occasionally less, but usually longer. And it just wasn't easy. And it was at a really high paced work environment where it was constantly go, 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 like, let's get up, let's work, let's work. And there was minimal time for me, and I didn't actually really enjoy what I was doing that much. So I was trying to find things that would help me to perform at a higher level, so I didn't need to turn toward what everyone else was doing, such as taking ADHD medication when they didn't need it, or Adderall and other such things when they didn't need it, or even more things again to keep themselves awake and alert when they definitely didn't need it. And so I didn't want to subscribe to that lifestyle. I was like, no, what naturally can I do in terms of supplements, nutrition, lifestyle practices that I can add in to what I'm currently doing to get the most out of my own energy in a natural way? And then I started to do the research, and I was like, holy crap, like some of these things, they're amazing because they don't just pay you a dividend right then and there. It's lifelong benefits from doing it. It's like when you go ahead and you go, what's the best way to go ahead and get more energy? Get in the gym, start getting fit and healthy, because it doesn't just give you an immediate benefit, it gives you a long-term benefit because then you're fit and healthy. So you're going to have more energy on and on and on and on. So so biohacking was extremely exciting for me, but I was a cynical person. So everything to me had to be quantified by science. How much do I need to do? How does it work? How do I know it works? What's the science behind it? So I read and deep dove into everything, and then just did N=1 experiments, which is a fancy way of saying I just tried it on myself, I guinea pigged it, and if it worked, great, and if it didn't, I wouldn't do it. And I just give everything at least a few tries, try and do it for a week. Everyone is different though. We all have extraordinarily different biology. So what works for Zac, what works for myself may not work for you. And things that didn't work for us may work phenomenally well for you. And that's just how it all works. So I started just by looking into things such as breathing exercises, meditation, cold water immersion, which basically means using the cold tap in the shower much more than the hot tap, and eventually only the cold tap. And what part of the head to actually aim the cold water on, and why, and what else you can do. And so I found it really interesting because stuff that I naturally did, I then found the science as to why it makes me feel the way it does. At the time, bizarrely enough, which is a means of escape because I didn't like what I did in the day being a lawyer, I did singing lessons. And at the time, I was also playing American football. And where we practiced was in Western Sydney. And at the time, I was living kind of more central. So it would be a 40 to 45-minute drive out there for practice twice a week. And because I was doing opera lessons, which I know is a bit strange, I was belting Andrea Bocelli in the traffic on the way out to practice, on the times that I could actually get out of work at like 5:36 so I can get to practice on time, which unfortunately was only a once every few weeks event. So I'd be all excited, and in the car, I'd be like, perfect opportunity to practice my singing lessons that I was doing. So I'd be belting it out. But what I found is whenever I was singing in the car, or in the shower or wherever it was, I always was in such a good mood afterwards. I felt really, really good. So I'd get to practice, and sometimes just for a laugh for all the boys and the girls who I'm practicing with, as I'm like pulling onto the field, I'd have Conte Partirov just blaring, and I have the windows down. I'm just sitting and I was like, oh my God. But it was a bit of a laugh. But I'd get out of the car and I would just be in the best mood. And I could have an absolute shocker of a day, chuck on a few songs that I like, sing along to them, and just be like, I'm in a great headspace. And I always just thought that was just a thing. But then I learned through biohacking, the reason why is through vagal nerve stimulation. So when I'm singing or when I'm humming or when I'm putting cold water on my head, I'm actually greatly stimulating the largest cranial nerve that you have in your body, called the vagus nerve. And that actually has a cascade of positive benefits. One of many is the upregulation of dopamine and serotonin, which basically means you're going to have more energy and be a bit more happy, which means you're the better version of yourself with more energy and a bit more excitement. Like, why would you not want to do that? That's going to bring your better self to every task. So that then became a hack, or something that I would just have in my tool chest that I could just do. So then even if when I'm having a crappy day, or it's a morning when I just want to be in a good state, even if I don't feel like it, I'm tired, I would push myself to jump in the cold shower. Some mornings you just, especially when it's cold and it's winter months, I'd always pop on a song that I like and be like, I'll choose a random banger, whack it on. And then I'd be singing in the shower for like usually 3-4 minutes is all you need to get a good benefit. And then I'd get out and I'd be in a way more energetic state. And that's my entry to biohacking, was just doing simple little things that I knew would have a positive benefit, because I researched why the benefits are there and the science is secure. I'm like, this is cool. And then the next thing was writing down lists of gratitude. So I'd start the day with 5 things I'm really grateful for. And I would also have another prompt on my phone where at 9 p.m. or at the time I was going to bed, at the time was around 9 p.m., it would remind me to, when an alarm would go off, reminding me to write 5 things that were great that happened that day. And the reason why here is, from a really simple level, is you're training your body to look for things to be happy or grateful for, which means you're training your brain to effectively look for things that make you happy. And what you focus on, you actually see. Like, where focus goes, energy flows, as a great quote from Tony Robbins, which is dead true in this example. So I started to do that and I found this was really helpful for me. And I was like, this is cool. The next thing was breathing exercises. There are multiple types of breathing exercises that you can do. I use some in the evening to help calm myself before sleep, and I use some in the morning to pump myself up before I hit the gym. So fire breathing was something I do before the gym, a couple of minutes in the car, and I'm looking like an absolute nutcase. The window's down, so I'm getting fresh oxygen in, and I'm there in the car just going, basically just breathing as fast as I can in and out of my nose for 50 rotations. And then it's 10 really fast, full inhales, full exhales. And that just basically just gets you all pumped up in the morning. In the evening, it was box breathing, which is a relaxation technique, which is in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4, in for 4, on repeat. And that's also quite meditative because you're focusing on something so small as 1, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, which is quite nice. So I thought, hang on, can I stack the habits, AKA do 2 things at once, which are both going to be positive? And I thought, this is brilliant. Well, I'm already going to do meditation in the evening to wind down. So what if I start with meditation and then I do box breathing and then I focus on things that I'm really grateful for, that I'm happy about that day, ones that I already wrote down, but I'll think about them again. And then what if while I'm doing all this, I'm listening to binaural beats, which is another biohack. There's binaural beats which you can do for amplification of focus and work, and there's other binaural beats which will help to calm you down. A binaural beat means your left ear and right ear is treated to a slightly different frequency, which means that you will create what's called the binaural frequency, which is going to be the in-between point of these 2 frequencies. And depending upon whether it's 2, 4, 6, 8 hertz, or whatever it might be, there's going to be different benefits depending upon that actual binaural frequency. So that's when I kind of got a bit deeper into it, is when I tried things that I liked, and there's some that I did do and I was like, that's not for me. Like, apparently it's great, but I've tried it and I'm not going to do that anymore. But others that I'm like, this is brilliant. Like, I'm definitely doing this. And then you put together your little morning routine of habits, and it might be honestly 10 minutes. But I know that if doing that 10 minutes in the morning means that every hour for the rest of the day, I'm at least an extra 10% more productive, more present, more positive, energized, and focused, and I work for 8 hours, I've got an extra hour and 20 minutes for free that obviously it's not for free. I've just done my 10 minutes to get 120 minutes. So that's a perfect, sorry, not 120, 80 minutes. That's a perfect trade-off in my head. And at the end of the day, to get a higher quality and better quality sleep, taking 10 minutes again to wind down with biohacking practices, no brainer.
This is amazing. And so those are all the morning routine, and maybe we'll shift over to the evening routine in a minute. I'll add a couple of things in here as well. But I loved, what you spoke about, the vagal stimulation, right? Which is a lot of what the research is coming out with now, is that there's hard evidence. It's not just a breathwork session or a meditation session or some device. It's hardcore science. Whether it was the singing, and I love singing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, right? The vibration, the energy to singing your favorite song. You then stack it with the cold shower, and then you do the gratitude, the breath work, the fire breathing, the box breathing. These are fantastic, the binaural beats. I've been putting on some affirmations in the morning as well.
Big time.
They're that first, 15 minutes, the brain waking up just to program, and also the end of the day affirmations. And then I've been doing the infrared sauna.
Oh yeah.
That's a good one. And obviously hydrating. I think you do the specific salt. What was the salt that you recommended?
Oh yeah, so when I'm starting my day, the first thing I'll do when I get out of bed is I don't want to immediately have a coffee. That was old me. That was what I used to do. And in fairness, I think most people do that. They jump out of bed, I need a coffee, and then straight to the coffee machine, bang, and that's when they do whatever they want to do from there. For me, I try and not have coffee immediately. I go down and I get a big old I have a huge big glass. It's basically just a drinking thing, but I think initially it was a vase, but I use it for drinking. And I chuck a big pinch of Celtic salt in there. And then I have a water filter, because I don't want to get water directly from the tap. I'd rather have the filtered, just because I don't want all that stuff that comes in regular municipal water. And then I fill that up, and it's about 1 liter. And so I'll kind of chug on that pretty quickly. And that's how I'll start my day while I'm going through morning stretches and just that morning routine, because the first 10-15 minutes for me as well, same as you, it's an opportunity to kind of wire myself to having a really productive day. I try and always think okay, Mark, if you need to be at the gym at 6 o'clock, which means you need to leave your house by 5:45, I'm not going to get up at 5:30 because then I'm stressing and running. I'm going to get up at like 5:10. So I have time to spend those first few minutes getting my body in the place I want it to be for the day.
Yeah, 100%. It's just setting yourself up for success, and setting how we start helps how we finish. And another couple of, and you're putting this Celtic salt in there because the Himalayan salt and obviously table salt is not the same. Apparently good quality sea salt is a better alternative these days, because we are an electrical being. We need those electrolytes. Yeah. And
lots of electrolytes, lots of good minerals in Himalayan salt. You do tend to get a larger amount of iron, and you also get like another few things which are a bit impure and you don't necessarily want. And also in regular table salt, occasionally you get microplastics and other issues as well. Yep. So we are meant to be having way more salt than the diet. Everyone seems to think they've learned a few things from TV here and TV there. Oh, fat's bad. Oh, too much salt is bad. Wrong. You want to have way more fat. You want to have way more salt. And I'm consistently discussing things with friends and family who just go, Mark, I was watching you have your salad there on the weekend, and you dumped all this olive oil all over it, and then you were like throwing salt on top, and you brought your own salt. Like, what are you doing, mate? That's bad for you. And I'm like, well, actually, this is my little Celtic salt, which I do actually bring out to dinners, just because I never have it. And if it's a good quality olive oil, I drench it, because good quality oil, it's really good for you. We're made, like, all of our cells are made of fat. So, and what does our body use to recreate and remake all of our cells? The fat that we ingest. It's a perfect thing. So if you're putting good fat in, you're going to get way better quality cells in your body. And if you're doing the right practices at the right time, so your body is aligning when it's actually recreating all of these tiny cells, and it's recreating mitochondria and all these little bits of energy, that's how you're going to do it. So I think of ourselves sometimes as like a plant. And if you give yourself the best possible nutrients to thrive and to grow, it's going to grow big and strong. And technically, when we're recreating every single little cell on repeat, which is how our body grows and continues to grow, as well as mitochondria and other things, if you have the best quality cells, because you've given yourself the best possible nutrition, best possible lifestyle practices, so your hormones are in balance, your body's in balance, neurotransmitter levels, everything's in perfect balance, you're just going to be the absolute best version of yourself. And that's why we are doing the things that we're doing with our health, with our biohacking, with our nutrition. It's not all just like a random, it's a bit of fun. It's an expensive habit. It's a timely habit, but there's a reason why, and it's top-notch performance.
100%, 100%. I feel that after a while, and I've been doing this for quite some time, like yourself, it's the health high that you get. It's not even a high, it's just your normal, new normal. And now it's just the normal state of being. And, I notice sometimes I have that one beer, I notice the effect, or that one wine, that effect the next day, like it really hits me hard. And then it's just like, damn. And then I'm like, I feel better just being sober and, doing these healthy habits and going to the gym and jumping in the ocean and having a sauna and hanging out with friends. It's just like, that's the new normal of like a healthy quality way of having fun. I think 100%. A lot of society, we've been taught to have fun in a very unhealthy, unconscious way that's only short-term lived. We're talking about long-term. And so that's really interesting. Other routines in the morning would be, stretching or roller, meditation, prayer. And then, we've got all the things like the quality of the water. It's, as you said, it's not the tap water, it's the quality of the water, the filtration, or even the shower filter, getting a shower filter as well, because all the steam and the chemicals. And then, whether it's journaling. I know a lot of people love the journaling practices. And so I know I fell out of my morning routine for quite some time, and it's changed over the years. And I used to get so stressed. I was like, it needs to be, I have to do this morning routine. If I don't do it like this, I'm not going to be happy, and that was causing more stress at the end of the day as well. So I think now I'm more flowy with it. It's more unconscious competence. But anyone out there that's maybe you've lost your routine, or maybe you've never started a routine, jump back into it and really dive into that. What about evening? What about your evening routine? I know you're a big fan of blue blockers, which I'm like, high five. You're not the only other, where you got...
They're here at the ready.
Always.
Absolutely, yeah. Oh, you have the red tint ones. Very cool.
Oh, I've got many different pairs, but yeah, this is my favorite. And then
But you need to have them and
daytime,
on the computer as well. You got the flux and stuff.
100%.
Yeah, you get the daytime cool.
Yeah.
Like there's myriad things to do. And to anyone who's actually starting out as well, one thing I would say that I spent a large amount of time laboring on is what I mentioned before, the N=1 experimentation, aka do one thing each week or at least for a couple days and make that the focal point. Don't do everything at once. Don't overload yourself because unrealistic. You're not going to keep going. Like don't spend a day suddenly going from 0 to I do 10 things. You're not going to keep it up. Try a week, just be going, hey, like I'm going to try this breathing thing, or I'm going to try this meditation thing. I'm going to try journaling. I'm going to try gratitude. I'm going to try the cold water thing. I'm going to try singing more often. I'm going to try humming or gargling, which also is good for vagal stimulation. Just choose a variety of things that's going to work in your routine, and then just introduce them bit by bit, and just see, did that week actually, and did that day seem to be a bit better than your average day? And it's not going to be like an astronomical change. It'll just be minor changes. But if you find that that day you're a little bit more with it, in a slightly better mood, things that sometimes would stress you or annoy you or cause you a little bit of anxiety didn't as much. You felt like maybe someone cut you off in traffic, which would normally send you to a bit like, oh, you're like, oh, whatever, they're in a hurry. Small things where you're just like, that's cool. Like try and be aware of the changes in your personality, your flow, your ability to deep work, to focus, your distractibility, how conscious you are about like looking at your phone and checking social media, or whether you're being more you. And that's super important to be aware of. And then see what works and see what doesn't work. And it's okay if like the first 1 or 2 things you do, you're like, I don't know if that did work. That's cool. Just keep trying more. There's like 10, 15, 20, there's loads of things you could do. And eventually figure out the top 3, 4, 5 that really work best for you, and then find a way to combine them. Or as Zac and I were saying, stack. So put them together really nicely so it's the most time effective. For me, I'm all about minimum effective doses, aka I want to get maximum benefit in the least amount of time. For example, if I'm going to hit the gym in the morning and that's going to be my go-to thing, I want to do the least amount of exercise. I want to spend the least amount of time as possible in the gym and get the maximum returns each time, every time. I don't want to be the guy who goes in there and spends an hour and a half just like doing everything like that. I know from past experience doing that, I'm going to be tired for the rest of the day. My energy is never going to be as high because I've worked too hard in the morning. So for me, I'd rather go in, do 30, 35 minutes of really high intensity interval training, which is what I find to be best for me, with a few like kind of maxed exercises. And then I get the hell out. And then I go home, and then it's straight to my bit of stretching, and then it's my cold showers and the singing, and then it's straight into breathing exercises, meditation combo, and then boom, I'm done, work time. So evening routines. Zac,
I think just something to add in there. Yeah, sorry, you go.
Oh no, I was just going to say, did you want to add something?
Yeah, perfect. Yes, I do. So I think the other thing is if it becomes like, even if it's just that one thing in the morning, as you said, it's such a great idea. Just start with one thing, try that for a week, and then try something else and stack it slowly. And even just that one thing gets me moving, it gets the people going, like it just moves in that right direction. And then it's kind of like, I don't get them all done in the morning straight away, but I might notice that, around 12 o'clock, I have something else that I do. And then it's like, it flows on and it flows on. So like the whole day are things there to support me throughout the busy stress chaos. Just wanted to add that in there, but yeah, let's talk about evening.
So evening routines, or even daytime routines, to add to your point, like if you don't max it all out that morning, you haven't missed the window of opportunity. Like just do it a bit later on. Like I find when I have days that are very stressful and I have like a big meeting, I'm like, oh my God. And when it finishes, it's almost hard because that meeting was the huge focus point of the day, like to get back to work. So what I often try and do is be like, hey, cool, I'm a bit spun out, no worries. Like that was a really, really important meeting. Like I just met with probably the biggest thing in my business life so far. So instead of like almost throwing up on the day, I just go, that's cool. How can I reset myself? And for me, that might just be, I'm going to have a cold shower, do a bit of singing and chill. And just honestly, I'll just redo my morning routine. And it could be 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, who cares? And then I'm back in my desk, and and then I've found that new headspace or that new state that I want to be in, which is way more productive. Evening routines. The whole purpose of my evening routine is to maximize the quality of sleep. Now, why I say quality of sleep is hugely important. People think sleep is a quantitative thing, not qualitative thing. And It's not. So that's like going into the gym. Like, let's just say, think of Dwayne Johnson or The Rock or Arnold Schwarzenegger as another perfect example. I don't think that I work out the same way that they do. So if we're both in the gym for 2 hours, I reckon they're getting more done than I am. But if we're both asleep for 2 hours, I reckon I'm having just a good quality sleep as they are, because I put the effort into my sleep. So just because you're in bed with your eyes closed doesn't mean you're getting 100 out of 100 sleep score. But just like being in the gym for an hour, you're not getting 100 out of 100 workout. Like, the amount of times I see people do a set of exercises and they're on their phone for 5 minutes and they do it again. And then sometimes I just watch people. I'm like, you've done 5 exercises in the time I've done 20. Like, I get it. They're probably just thinking, I got to spend an hour in here to be okay. But they probably could have spent 15 minutes, done the stuff really fast, don't touch their phone and get the hell out. But anyway, everyone does what they want to do. So with sleep, the purpose is high quality sleep, which means you cannot go straight from high work mode or from blue light exposure, whether it's from computer screens, TV screen, little screen energy, or whatever it might be. You want to try and get away from social media, get away from work, get away from anything that is going to provoke any kind of stress at all. Even TV, I know sometimes people think, oh, just a quick beer or a glass of wine and a bit of a nostalgic show, Seinfeld or Friends, whatever, and then I'll go straight to sleep. And some people do, and they think, oh, I've hacked the system. I can have a quick little episode or two with a glass of wine and straight into sleep. Sure, your body is capable of that. But the first 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 hours of your sleep is impaired. It's not as good quality, which means instead of getting straight into 100 out of 100 sleep, the first few hours, you might only be sleeping at 70 or 80% capacity, which means when sleep is actually happening, your body is basically rejuvenating and preparing, washing away all the accumulated debris, which is basically accumulates across the day, and preparing yourself for the new day. So there's a whole scientific rationale as to what's really going on during that time, and we're not going to delve into that. But long story short, sleep is super necessary. High quality sleep for a higher amount of time equals perfection. For me, I find 7.5 hours to 8 hours the right amount of sleep, provided it's good quality sleep. And I will notice the difference, because some days I'll jump into bed and maybe it's because I've spent an evening socializing a little bit too late. Like on a Sunday night, you might go out and meet a friend or two for 1 or 2 drinks, end of week, and you're chatting and laughing before you know it. Oh crap, it's 9:45, guys, we better go. And then you run home and then you quickly just jump into bed and you're asleep by 10 and you think oh, this is perfect. I'm up by 6 and like, I've got a good sleep. I'll get up at 6, I'll be tired as hell. And the reason why is the alcohol has greatly reduced my quality of sleep. The fact that I went straight from big social situation to immediate sleep means the first 1 or 2 hours at least was impaired. So therefore I didn't get 8 hours. I got the first 3 hours of crap sleep. And then I really only got the back 5 hours of good sleep. So when you weigh it all up together, it's like I've got 6 and a bit hours. So the evening routine is purely based around making sure sleep equals perfect. And Zac, did you want to run through this time some of the habits that you have for high quality sleep?
Yeah, for sure. I'm a big fan, and that's really interesting. Yeah, the quality of the sleep and that, the final couple hours before hitting the hay is super important. I'm a big fan of the blue blockers for sure, but also if I'm going to use my computer, because there's nights that I'm working a bit later, if I'm using my phone, there's either Flux, which is the free software, or there's the Iris Tech, which is one that's a paid one. And that's better quality. It takes out like so much, just as a red screen. So that's something that I use at nighttime. And then I also have a red light panel in the corner. So the whole house, the whole lounge room is red, but it balances out that red light. If I'm going to get a bit more blue light from the TV or whatnot, it's going to balance that out. And I find I'm drowsy, falling asleep naturally by 8:30, 9 o'clock, just hitting the hay. So to me, that's really awesome. Things like magnesium or magnesium spray is a good one on top of the feet. Or a bit of the magnesium transdermal. So it's a brand, amazing oils. I spray on the feet, and that's supposed to soak in for the reflexology points, the meridians, and the hands and the feet to help with relaxing the nervous system. And also setting the day up for the next day before I go to sleep. So those top maybe one thing or one or two things that are my biggest rocks that are needed to be focused on for the following week, following day, doing those, or even the gratitude before bed, which is really great, to set up that really nice deep sleep as well. Those are a few ones. And the Healy, right? What you're talking about, the vagus nerve, the ear clip specifically, there's science to say that the microcurrent helps to relax the vagus nerve and to help. And so I usually find the nights that I do the Healy on the ear clips, it's called transcranial stimulation.
Yep.
And that really helps my dreams. Actually, I fall asleep really well, but also my dreams are becoming super vivid. So that's been a really interesting one too. And I think the other one is just when I'm hitting completely turning off the router, turning off any internet, turning off any light in the room, and then also just having that visualization process of gratitude, like going through my day and going, what happened today? What was I grateful about? Like what was really cool? And just like reliving the day before I went to sleep, I find is a nice way to kind of cap it off.
Mate, it sounds like we're basically doing the same things. So I guess in summary, like
we're not just wearing our hats backwards, we're also doing a whole bunch of other stuff.
But it's cool, like for people like I remember at the start when I was trying to figure out, all right, what's this evening routine business? Is it really worthwhile? And then the first thing I learned, which you touched on, was a true morning routine starts the night before. And I was like, all right, like I'll give this a whirl. So I spent a week where I would think about what I want to do tomorrow. And it doesn't make a difference whether you're working in a particular job, whether you're studying, whether you're in high school, whether you're working for yourself, doesn't make a difference. I would go ahead and I'd prepare my to-do list the night before. And I did that for a week. And the morning of, one of my morning routine habits was to review my previously written to-do list and then attribute prioritization to it and also time boxing to it. AKA, I would look at the 5 or 10 or 15 things on my to-do list that I wrote the night before, and then I would reorder them as to what I need to do in the order of priority for that day to how I think it needs to go from that morning. And I'd also attribute the amount of time required for it. So I would be able to know in advance, okay, if I need to reply to these 9 really important emails, how long is that going to take? And I'll put down 30 minutes. So then I can actually put on my computer, I actually time my tasks. So during that time period, I do not do anything else. So I try and either I'm on working or I'm not working. Those are my 2 states. I'm not working and then, oh, my friend's calling. Oh, yes, there's a text message I'll quickly reply. I think that's terrible because effectively what you're doing is allowing yourself to become distracted. And distraction is the opposite of focus and concentration. Focus and concentration is what is going to get you further ahead in life, so much more in today's world than ever before. So you need to train yourself to have much better focus and much better discipline and much better concentration. And how to do that is to abstain from distractions. So just like when you're trying to be in a diet and you have an issue to, you have a little pang to, I wouldn't mind a chocolate. I wouldn't mind a chip. If you get good at being like, I don't need that chip. I don't need that chocolate. I don't need that ice cream. I'm going to work. So I'm just going to be healthy. In this example, like I will notice my phone will sometimes buzz, or I'll suddenly think in my head, oh crap, actually, did I call my mum back? And I might get that thought. But what I've trained myself to now do is I will always sit with a notepad next to me. And if I think it's a really important thought, I will quickly write down, call mum, and I'll return to my task. And when my task timer goes off, then I'm in free time for 5 or 10 minutes. And that's when I will do all the things that are on that list of random little thoughts. But the idea is I'm training myself to be focused and concentrating the whole time. So yeah, it's worthwhile looking into, and it's worthwhile writing down some to-do lists the night before and just check out how it works for you and see if you find your next day a bit more productive. And just start it one by one. Effectively, Zac and I are doing pretty much almost the exact same things. A bit of meditation.
And this is the first time we've caught up like this before too. We've never met in person. The sliding doors. You did come to the garage, the raw cave. James McDonald.
Exactly, and I've seen you in a few like health expos where, yeah, Zac and I's relationship, for those of you listening at home, is very funny. Where we've both known of each other for a long period. We've seen each other face to face a few times and just said nothing more than hello. But we're both kind of going, I know who you are and you know who I am, but we never really properly put down the veil. I'm like, hey, I'm Mark. Let's have
quality
a chat.
catch up. That's it. The sliding doors. And Johnny from Breakaway has reunited us, and now we'll be integrating some giveaway savvies at the next broth night, September 9th here in Manly, for those of you in Sydney. Mark, we've covered so much, and this has been super information filled. Is there any other final comments on this? Has been a jammed packed, nutrient dense, what did you say, least effort max result, right?
Yeah it was highly efficacious considering the amount of time. Like, for those who were listening, like it's worthwhile trying to go ahead and like have another listen and just maybe run through with the pen, because there was a lot of stuff in here, and I know that we did a shallow dive across loads of stuff as opposed to deep diving into things. So when we go back and listen to it, I'm sure we've covered 10 or 15 habits for morning and evening routines, as well as all these nootropics. And I know we didn't discuss a lot of the deep science to it, but there's so much there that sometimes you just got to move quick and get through lots of stuff, and then hopefully people get some value out of it.
We'll have you back.
Minimum
for
effective
sure.
dose.
Minimal, that's the one. Minimal effective dose. That's my word of the week, or my phrase of the week. So just lastly here, you've obviously got the Savvy, and that's a massive, awesome start to the day. And I'm looking at, the price of a normal coffee or a tea or one of these smoothies these days. It's easier and more nutritious pack to have one of these Savvies. So that's like an amazing start as well. And I find I'm just like straight into work. But also tell us just briefly about the coffee, because I know a lot of my friends are into coffee, and they are just like, they're not just into coffee, they're like coffee snobs. You know what I mean? Like They make their own coffee, they do it a certain way, they add this, they do it like that with their own cup. The whole process is really important, which is great. If you're going to do something, do it with style, right?
Absolutely.
So tell us about your style with your new coffee pod.
So there's two coffees. There's a coffee powder where we've gone ahead and made effectively a bulletproof coffee, which is coffee plus a source of fat. For us, it's MCT oil. And then we add all of our nootropics on top. So the idea is it's a 10-gram sachet. It's a biodegradable compostable sachet. Rip it open, chuck it in hot water, cold water, milk, plant-based milk, whatever you'd like to do. And boom, it's delicious. We've lightly flavored it with a little bit of monk fruit, which is slightly sweet and slightly caramel. So it's an easy product on the go. For those that have an espresso compatible coffee machine, we have these biodegradable compostable coffee capsules. So what's really cool about these guys is they actually biodegrade, which means they're not made of plastic or foil like most of the Nespresso ones are. You can put these in your compost and they will not be there after 10 weeks, which is pretty damn cool. So the coffee is very important because coffee and tea is the most heavily sprayed crop. There's usually 500, sometimes up to 1,000 herbicides, pesticides, fungicides, and insecticides. Like I was saying before, when it comes from nature, make sure you try and go organic if possible, because the barista is not washing the beans off. So unfortunately, you're ingesting that unless you're getting organic. So our coffee is organic. It's also fair trade, which means the people in the communities that actually farm the coffee are being looked after fairly. It's also mold free, so we get that tested. Just I'm not going to even touch as to why that's important, but it is. It's because it's quite a deep rabbit hole. And then we add all of our nootropics on top again. So the whole idea is coffee is good, but coffee could be so much better when you put it around with other ingredients. So we have 13 added ingredients to our coffees, which just propel coffee to a brand new height. So you get longer lasting energy than from a regular coffee. You get better quality energy, and you don't get any of the jitters or the palpitations or the anxiety that can sometimes happen. So it's a pretty cool thing. And then we've taken that same technology and applied it in a drink, in a lemon form and in a berry drink, just so people who want to have something grab quickly from the fridge and take it in the car. Sometimes coffee is not conducive for that. That's why we created the drinks.
This is awesome. This is awesome. And like, obviously everyone at home probably having a think about your own routine, having a think about, what you're doing, if you're drinking coffee or if you're having other drinks or some of these biohacks that we're talking about. And I really want you guys to think about, like, what's the quality of these things that you're doing at home? Maybe there's a higher level of quality, whether it is, adding in these ingredients into your coffee and getting the Savvy or whatever it is, or in your water filter or different types of breathing exercises. It's about changing the quality of it. When you change the structure and the information to our body, it's going to change the whole experience. And what I really think's amazing here, Mark, and thank you so much, it's like what you've taught here, you're walking your talk. and then you've created a product that's aligned to your values and purpose, and I can just feel it, right? Your energy here is just like, you could be, I'm sure we could be here talking all day and all night. So it's like, that's really what I really think is the next wave of business, where it's people that are aligned to their values and their purpose, and they want to contribute, and they're just, you're just authentic through and through. So I really appreciate you creating all these products, and everyone that wants to check it out online, savvybeverage.com.au. Put in the coupon code Zac Deane to get a bit of a discount. Find them on Instagram, on their website. Come to the next broth night. Get in touch with Mark. And I think was the first person who orders gets a little something.
Yeah, we're gonna so the first few people that use the code Zac Deane, just to go ahead and celebrate, obviously, our chat today, we're gonna chuck a little like free gift in there as well. So I prefer to surprise and delight than tell you guys what it's going to be. So you are going to get a free gift, which is kind of cool.
That's really cool. And all the people watching at home, if you have any questions, put it in the comments now. Any questions about biohacking, sleep, nootropics, light, we can talk about these things next time. And also for the entrepreneurs out there, I think we'll have you back, Mark. We'll kind of go through maybe some more of the mindset routines around structuring your day to also make the most of the nootropics. It's great to have all the energy, but it's like, what do you do with it then, So exactly. I think we'd love to have you back there too. So really appreciate your time. Any final comments for everyone at home?
I was just going to say thank you so much for having me. And if you would like to reach out to myself or Zac with questions from today, maybe you're doing some of the things already and you want to try and figure out how to get yourself from a good place to a better place. Like we live and breathe this stuff. We're more than happy to talk and help and chat. Like this is our jam. And if we can all kind of pull ourselves up to lead a happier and healthier life, that's a perfect thing. And via the law of reciprocity, often when you help people, they want to help you. And when you help them back, they want to help you. And it's a beautiful thing. And that's what I found my life has kind of turned into a lot is I'll often find that because people helped me so much at the beginning to get to where I am now, that I'm so much more inclined to want to help out other people. And I know it's a beautiful thing where it's just people just kind of taking a hand up and then reaching back to help the next person. And it's the same beautiful thing over and over. So we're here to help, we're here to serve.
I love that. A beautiful point to end on. The gift to living is giving. So it's the secret to living is giving. So that's awesome. Thank you so much, Mark. Thanks for your time. Everyone at home, over and out. Enjoy your savvies, and hopefully one day you'll be as cool as us, flicking your cap to the back.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
See you, everyone. Bye.